And so if it was like there was a runner for them or a runner for me, to just pursue that path. And that, like, doing all of that and trying to learn how to connect and not try to fake an interview and just be myself and try to relax, which is actually far more difficult for me anyway than I ever thought it would be. That was the beginning of it. And then about, maybe, I don't know if you remember exactly when, but I'll peg it at about 4 months in, maybe 5 months, something like that. I went to Lisa and I said, look, this just isn't adding up from a business standpoint. Like, this is fun enough, but I don't know that this is going to go anywhere. And at the time, I mean, we were in the thick of running Quest. We had 3,000 employees, doing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. And it was just like, fuck, that was a full-time business. I didn't have a lot of time to pay attention to things that weren't business critical. And when I said that to her, she was like, look, you are doing this for a year. I think there's something really incredible here. And you've always said that marketing should be value add, and that we live in a time where social media allows us to show the world who the people are that run the company, what the company stands for, and that being a good person has become the greatest marketing vehicle of all time. So she's like, if that really is real and it's not just bullshit rhetoric, then you need to stick with this for a year. And for the first 8 months, you feel like you're talking in a vacuum, and then you finally start getting some following, and then it blows up and it starts going somewhere. But if it hadn't been for Lisa, I would have quit for sure.
Oh,
and he's very sweet. I don't know if I said it that articulately, but I'll pretend that I did.
It was probably something more like, hey, asshole.
Yeah,
we've put so many resources into this. Like, I've busted my ass to make the show. We built a fucking set for you. You better get out there.
We literally built an entire set. But the truth is that we were just seeing who we were impacting, and it brought us back to the very early days of Quest, when it was just like 5 of us, and we're in an office and Tom's answering customer service, and we were getting these calls of how much the protein bar was affecting their lives, not just from a losing weight standpoint, but it was like literally changing the way people have a relationship with food. Women with anorexia were contacting us, thanking us. So the show started to do that for the brain. It was people contacting us saying, you're helping me with my anxiety. And so seeing all of that, it was just important to remind ourselves, and we still do that even today, is that we look at all the numbers, but we also remind ourselves, we end every company weekly meeting with a letter or a note from a fan or from someone from our university, because we want to always remember what we're doing it for.
Such a amazing. Based on that answer, I'm even more excited that you're both on Clubhouse. So thank you.
Thank you, man. And shout out to the friends and family here in the moderator group. I see a lot of people got a lot of love for us. So thank you guys for rolling up tonight. It means a lot.
Tom, we got over 2,000 people in the room right now to welcome you. I saw you just cross 7,000. We're not ending the night until you're over 10,000, by the way, even if that means we watch the sunrise together. So everyone, make sure you're following Tom. Click on his face, give him a follow, click that bell, because when Tom's in a room, you're going to want to be there to listen, and do the same with Lisa, because they are just dropping so many gems. And this is super exciting. I mean, your pings are working, folks. There's 2,000 people in the room, but let's keep going, because that's just the start of the knowledge that is going to be dropped right now. And when else do you get to hear from a couple who is bootstrapped? That's right, bootstrapped a brand to $1 billion exit. I'm talking about 1,300 employees is how many they had at Quest at its peak. They built out manufacturing. They were making millions of bars every single day. And that was just chapter 1. We're going to talk about impact theory tonight. We're going to talk about what Tom is doing to take on Disney and pull people out of the matrix. It's only getting wilder and more fun from here. So I am pumped for this room. And on that note, Tom and Lisa, I want to introduce you both to another power couple who need no introduction, but for those who haven't met them, I'm talking about Preston Smiles and Alexi Panos. Preston and Alexi are extraordinary coaches. They are the people that a lot of the coaches we know turn to for personal coaching. And I'm so excited they were able to pop in and say hello. They wanted to welcome you to the Clubhouse platform. Have you guys all met before?
Oh, yes.
Oh yes,
we love the Bilyeus. We are big fans of just all the things.
Awesome. So I know sometimes when you're friends with people, there's questions that you want to ask them, maybe, business or personal, but you hold back because it just never is that type of like brain picking conversation. Let's put that aside right now. And I want to ask Preston and Lexi, do you have a question for Tom tonight?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to kind of like throw a wrench in this. Tom, I would love to know what you do to keep the spice alive and the sexiness alive with your wife, because I know how closely you guys work together, and I know a lot of us could benefit from that little insight.
Nice. I like that question a lot.
Let's go there, Tom. Let's go.
So first of all, that's something that Lisa and I talk a lot about. So we have a show called Relationship Theory, and one of the things that, as a business guy, I'm sure people are always surprised to hear me say, but it's like you have to have sex. Like you got to have a lot of sex, and prioritizing physical contact and making sure that you don't become roommates. And I just cannot say how much my wife has been a very wise voice in our marriage. In the beginning, when I was we were broke, clipping coupons, like the whole nine. And I had a real chip on my shoulder to prove that, all the promises that I had made her or that I made to her father when, I asked for his blessing and he said no. I said, look, I'm going to be successful one day. And so I was so grinding in the business. And it was Lisa that was, saying, hey, look, we have to make time for this relationship. And it really forced me to clarify what my number one priority is, which is my marriage. It's more important to me than my business. And it's more important to me than my business because nothing has ever brought as much joy to my life as that. So Lisa and I make sure, look, Monday through Friday, I don't make a secret of the fact I don't have sex Monday through Friday. If I'm awake, I'm either working or working out. So on the weekend, I prioritize the marriage. We make sure that we spend time together. We're total homebodies as it is. So, spending time, and we've done stuff, I cannot recommend this one enough, where you literally sit with your knees touching, cross-legged in front of each other. And for 5 minutes, without looking away, you just stare into each other's eyes. As dumb as that sounds, it's weird and kind of hard. And B, it's absolutely incredible. But taking time to do things like that, to connect just as people, is very important. And then, as anybody out there knows that is in a service business of any kind, surprise and delight. So, it could be right before we go to bed, as I'm prepping for a guest or something, I'll have Lisa sit between my legs and I'll just give her a massage, not trying to make it sexual, just a massage. It's something I know that matters to her, is a very meaningful thing that makes her feel understood. And getting to know each other's love languages is a big part of that. Like, just, it's what Lisa and I call giving the keys to the kingdom, telling the other person point blank, like it's a Christmas list. Here are the things that I like, that I would love. This would really mean something to me. And actually then taking the time to do those things and not constantly putting it off.
Love that. Great question, Alexi. Way to kick it off with something. I mean, that's more important than business. Tom, how long have you and Lisa been together? Yeah, please.
Since we have the benefit of having Lisa here, could you tell us the truth?
The funny thing is, he was so transparent. I was like, wow, he went like full on every detail.
Yes, he did. It was so good.
But the thing is that we have been together for 20 years. We've built 2 businesses together. Well, we built multiple businesses. A lot of them failed.
I was going to say, 2 successful.
2 successful businesses. And it has, for us to be we are more in love now than we were last year, than we were the year before, because we work at it and we're that transparent. We're that honest with each other. We don't leave anything kind of like, he's very honest. Look, from Monday to Friday, I want to go all in on work. So he's setting me up for success in knowing what to expect, and vice versa. But then allowing some space to play, to do some things, some surprises. I'm normally the one that does the like super fun, sexy surprises. We know that about each other, and he, kind of has given me the crown, and I wear it very proudly.
Well,
So,
also just really fast as a super random side note, and I don't know if this is going to be good for the room or bad for the room, but fascinating difference between men and women that this may be a breakthrough for people. Men like to see things that are sexy. Women like to be sexy. Like, I would never in a million years strike a sexy pose. I would feel like such a dumbass. Nothing would be a bigger turnoff to me than trying to look sexy. Whereas for Lisa, to look sexy for me, like, is the turn on for her. And when I read that, I was like, oh my God, that is such a fascinating insight and so accurate to every relationship I've ever been in.
Tom, if I can just weigh in here, I think that's completely true. This is Leah Lamar, pink background. I mean, if a guy sends me a sexy mirror pic, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? That was my scene.
Leah, very well said.
Yeah, we actually
Thank
did
you,
an
Tom.
episode of relationship theory where we spoke about sending sexual pictures to each other. And we were so honest that, you know, when I send one to Tom, he loves it. And when he sends one to me, it's just, I can't help but laugh, just because it's not something that I perceive as sexy like he does. And so we just are very honest with each other about that, so that there's no disappointment, you know, especially now with COVID, and you hear a lot of people, you know, having long distance relationships. We are very honest about our interpretation and what is sexy to us. And so we can, like Tom said earlier, it's like we speak each other's language. There's no guessing. And then you don't have to pretend.
Very well said.
Love that. Folks, this is Tom and Lisa Uncensored. You know, if there was a video element to this, I would be asking Tom to do his first ever sexy pose, but luckily for Tom, there is not. However,
luckily for all of us,
there is 2,100 people in the house tonight.
Wow.
All here to welcome Tom to the platform. Tom's at 7,500 followers. Let's all follow him if we haven't already. We want to give him a warm welcome, and we can't sleep until he's at 10,000. So give Tom a follow. Let's show him that we're so happy to have him on this platform. And Tom, another amazing thing about Clubhouse is the connections you can make with people that you may have never met in the real world. You can become, like, you know, good old buddies with them. And I want to, on that note, introduce you to two people who I have never met in person, but I hang out with just about every night. And they host a huge comedy show here on Clubhouse. And I've also participated in interviews with Lewis and I, with people like Chris Voss and Neil Strauss. And they are just bringing so much A game to Clubhouse all the time. I am talking about Leah Lamar and Nicole Benham. How you doing, ladies? Please say hello to Tom and Lisa.
Wow. Thank you for such an incredible introduction, Craig. Really appreciate it. And Brendan, good to see you as always. Tom and Lisa, welcome to the app. This is the most fun I've had in years, mostly because I haven't slept in a month or left my house since joining this app. I haven't even had a sip of water today. So welcome to your newest addiction. I mean, it's really getting out of control. Nicole and I are a dynamic duo, if I do say so myself. We started the first stand-up shows on here. Nicole is a journalist and I am a stand-up comedian, but together we just have a great banter and a great time. And so we've got stand-up shows Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific. Look, I know it's Valentine's Day, you guys, but most people listening are single, so they have no excuse not to come. And anyone who's in a relationship, if you're not sick of your significant other after being locked inside a cube with them for a year, you're lying to me. So come to the app, get some laughs. Nicole is probably one of my favorite people in the world. We met during the pandemic in real life at a birthday roast where I was roasting another comedian friend of ours on a big comedian panel. And Nicole owns Beyond the Interview on Instagram. She's an expert interviewer and journalist, and she's not only intelligent, but she's beautiful inside and out. And I'm very grateful to call her a friend and to be navigating this app with Nicole. Nicole, over to you, my babe.
Wow, Leah, thank you. I feel like I don't even need to introduce myself anymore after that. What's up, guys? What's up, Brendan and Craig? I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say, guys. This app has just brought everyone closer together, and we have so many fun conversations. We brought Chris Voss onto the app last night for the first time and did a room with him and Craig. That was some of the most fun I've had. I don't know. Oh, I know how you thought of that. The other Craig came on, and we decided to negotiate. And I mean, the stuff that happens on this app, I you just can't plan for it. It's so exciting. And by the way, Tom and Lisa, I look at your relationship, and you guys are literally a template for what I want for myself and for Leah, frankly, because we're quite alone. And and you know, you guys really are such a dynamic duo, and it's so obvious how painfully honest you are in your posts. And Tom, I love the ones where you like hold up, I think it's like a whiteboard or something, and you write stuff on it. I've screenshotted so many of them in my phone. It's like embarrassing how many of my it's embarrassing how many of my photos are actually just screenshots of you holding up a whiteboard. So
Nice.
so I mean, truly huge fan of you both. Gonna follow you here because I'm just so excited that you're here. And of course, Lewis Howes and Brendan and Jim Kwik, like people I've been following for years. So thank you so much for putting this together, Craig.
Pleasure's mine.
Also, Craig, sorry,
yes.
just real quick, Tom, I see you follow Eric. I'm going to try to ping him in here too, because he's a friend of me and Nicole's, and we just love him. So hopefully we can get all of us in the same stage together. Sorry, Craig, back over to you.
No, nice. No worries. No worries. Speaking of brilliant minds, I see our man Jim Kwik in the house, who had an epic interview with Tom on impact theory. How you doing, Jim?
Dude, this is so amazing. Craig, Brendan, you throw the most amazing welcoming rooms and just rooms in general. So it's just great to be in here. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Tom. Welcome to Clubhouse.
What up, dude?
Yeah.
Jim, we miss
Bunches.
you.
So much. Yeah, I had the honor of being on your prior show, Inside Quest, and then you talking about it brought back some amazing memories. And you know, I remember I put that show off months and months. I don't know if your team told you, but I delayed coming on that show for so long. And part of the reason why is just I was so intimidated, truth be told. You know, your preparation is the best in the business. And, you know, so I was nervous. Even just thinking about it just brings back memories. But can I ask a couple quick questions, like super quick questions of Tom and Lisa?
That's what we're here for, man. Drop it.
I would love to just help reveal more of both yourselves as this, you know, intro you to the room. You know, people know you from, you know, the Ink List and your amazing shows. People might not know that you two are two of the most humongous geeks out there, big dorks, you know, whether hanging out at so many Comic Cons with you both, or superhero movies, video games. I'm curious, what's maybe one other thing, what's something people seem to misunderstand about you as individuals?
Well, I think the biggest gap, and I don't know if I would say this is necessarily me as an individual. Well, yeah. So here's the thing. People think of me as the mindset guy, and I think of myself as an artist. So even my own team look at me as CEO. They think of me as an entrepreneur, but becoming an entrepreneur was simply a path so I could control my own art. And that I think always surprises people. Like even the title to this room, which of course I knew would not be the preponderance of questions, because I'm known for being an entrepreneur. I'm known for mindset stuff. But Lisa and I are trying to build the next Disney, like a straight up media company. We make comics actively. We have 2 comics in the top 10 of Webtoon. We've got, you know, 750,000 views in the last 6 months on our comic books. And it's, you know, stuff that people don't know about us. We're doing that for reasons that I think would be very familiar to people. They would understand that immediately because it all has to do with mindset. But the fact that I self-identify as an artist, I think would surprise people.
Lisa, same question, if you would.
The funny thing is, I actually wanted to ask Tom what he thinks people
misunderstand about
me. I don't know. Babe, do you have an answer?
things that they don't know about you.
Or misunderstand about me.
Yeah, or might not know about you.
It's interesting. I don't know that the world does misunderstand you, to be fair. Like, the thing you were born to do is women of impact. And that's why it's been so cool watching you step into that, because it is so you. You are exactly like you are on camera, which I love. They may not know that you're a world-class artist and that your artwork is photorealistic. It's absolutely insane. And when people see it, they're always like, what the fuck? Like, in fact, yesterday I interviewed Jay Samit, again, the best-selling author, and he was like, literally for 10 minutes after the interview ended, he's like, Tom, you have got to get your wife to do a gallery show. He's like, her work is amazing. And I'm not joking. He went on and on and on. Finally, I was like, Jay, I've tried everything to get my wife to lean more heavily into her art. Nobody has been a bit bigger proponent than me, and she only likes doing it when it's meditative.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, but maybe, so yes, one thing that came to mind actually that I do talk about, but if you don't follow all my posts, maybe this is a message that people don't see, is that everyone thinks of me as being extremely confident. I didn't come from confidence at all, but I've definitely worked very hard at it. And so it has been a struggle to get to where I am. But when I'm with my husband, I like being a big ball of mush. I want him to take charge. I want him to be alpha in our relationship. And for years, I really struggled with how can I be independent and strong as a female and then yet give myself over completely to my husband. And I eventually just lent into it and said, look, I don't care anymore that people judge me. This is who I am and this is what I want. And so I kind of gave myself over to it. And so if you just maybe see one part of me, you may just think I'm a super, confident person and very independent and my own woman. But again, I love and choose to give myself over completely to my husband.
I will say, though, that while we were doing our vows in this very strict old school Greek Orthodox church with ancient Greek being spoken and all that, the bishop goes, you must obey your husband. And when I say that she looked at him like, bitch, please, it was so funny. When you see, because we caught it on video. So you have on video him saying that and her giving this look. To this day, when we see that, we all piss our pants with laughter. Because yes, my wife is a ball of mush. And yes, to some extent, she loves when I take charge and all that. But don't let her fool you. My wife is a fiercely independent woman who, and quite frankly, that's how I would want it, right? You want somebody who knows what they're about. When they have an opinion, they say it. And when my wife has made up her mind about something, she is beyond tenacious. So we make a very good pair in that way.
Love that.
Such a great question, Jim.
Yeah, one word answer actually for this follow up is let's say 100 years pass, and Tom, I know I've had you on my show a couple of times, and I've asked you, you're not planning to right now to write a book, but let's say 100 years pass, and all that is left. Your videos are gone, everything, but there is a book about each of your lives, and what would the title be for Lisa Tom?
Oh. Babe, if you've got your one, by all means jump in.
It's interesting. So the only book that I would be worried about leaving behind would be called The Physics of Being Human. And I'm really obsessed with this idea. It wouldn't necessarily be about me. It's about all of us, but it's certainly the thing that I have leveraged to have my success. And because I consider myself a hopelessly average person, in fact, I'm going to back up a little, and I'm sure you were hoping for a much shorter answer, but the Cassandra complex is the most fascinating thing to me in all of Greek mythology. And the Cassandra complex is this woman, Cassandra, I'm sure she has an affair with a god or something. It's what everybody gets in trouble for doing in Greek mythology. And her punishment is that she's going to know the future, but nobody will believe her. And I literally just got the chills. That's what I feel like. So I start out, when I leave for college, my mother quietly assumes that I'm going to fail. My best friend said he just assumed I was going to marshmallow my way through life. Like I mentioned earlier, when I went to my now father-in-law to ask for his blessing to marry his daughter, he said no. And all of those people had accurately identified me. And the reality is, all of us have a path staring us in the face, and it goes like this. You may not be able to make a racehorse out of a pig, but you can make a really fast pig. And the way your life looks, from just being a normal pig to being a fast pig, is the difference between what Lisa and I were going through at the beginning of our marriage, when we were, we could only afford one car between us. We lived in a tiny ass apartment. We were clipping coupons. And now, right, having exited a $1 billion company, you can imagine what our life looks like. And so I feel like it's the Cassandra complex. People think I'm extraordinary. And because they think I'm extraordinary, they don't believe me. I'm just a fucking average guy, but you're looking at the after. And my whole life is about getting people to understand there's physics to this. There are just certain things that are true about humans. And one of them is that every species has to decide whether it's going to come preloaded with everything, like a horse. 20 minutes after being born, a horse is getting up, running around, doing all the things that a horse can do. 20 minutes after being born, as my friend Jamie Kern Lima will tell you, they're a lump of flesh and they can do nothing. They cannot hold up their own head. They shit in their pants. It's crazy. And for years, we have to carry them along, feed them, protect them. And the reason is that we have, as a species, chosen a strategy, which is to learn from your environment and leverage culture, which stacks, which is why we don't have to reinvent everything every generation. Now, once you understand that that plays out at the individual level, that if you adopt what I call the only belief that matters, that if you apply time and energy to gaining a skill, you will actually gain that skill, that you can get better at anything at any time with the right amount of energy applied to something, and that skill has utility. So now, literally, just by applying energy to something, you can get better. Now, because most people just want to be a racehorse, they never apply themselves, and they don't realize the absolute life-altering reality that is becoming a fast pig. And I just want people to understand that. So I was tempted to write a book that was sort of what I teach and stuff in like Impact Theory University. And then I realized I'm already putting this shit out there in like 1,000 different ways. If people want it, go check out the videos. But the one thing that I constantly come back that I'm tempted to write down as a book is that the physics of what it means to be a human. The way that you're always going to have a negative voice. It's always going to fuck with you, but you always have the ability to get better. And I've secretly been compiling a list of all the things that I think are the just truths of the human condition. And maybe one day I will write that book, Jim, and I will leave the physics of being human behind.
Boom.
Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Bilyeu is in the clubhouse. Let's get him to 8,000 followers real quick. Can we just handle that quickly? It looks like he's at 7.8 right now. Let's get him to 8 so we can be one step closer to sleeping. Tom, you're always so generous with your time and with your mind, man. I mean, most people who have the type of success you have will go sit on a beach, and you decided to take your success and double down on helping other people. And I know you have an even bigger vision than impact theory, and that is creating the next Disney, but in a way that shapes film and television content to pull people out of the matrix. For those who are just meeting you tonight, can you talk a little bit about that and what you plan to do over the next decade to transform the minds of people through media?
Yeah, man, for sure. So I think the most important thing to understand is that all of us have something that animates us, right? Literally an animus. And it's that thing that just is so unacceptable to you that you're willing to make a change. Right now, in most of the developing world, probably all of the developing world, your zip code is the #1 predictor of your future success. And Lisa and I have worked in the inner cities a lot. For me, that started back when I was 19. I started big brothering for a kid that grew up in South Central Los Angeles, one of the worst school districts in the country. Supposed to be an 8-week tutoring program. Long story short, it ended up being an 8.5-year relationship. And I realized that while I showed him that somebody loved him, I was too young and dumb to actually help him avoid the catastrophe that was the zip code that he grew up in. And flash forward 15 years later, Lisa and I are at Quest, and in manufacturing here in California anyway, you're going to be in just absolutely god awful neighborhoods. And your employees, of course, are going to be local. So now all of a sudden we have 1,000 employees that remind me exactly of that kid that I big brothered for. And I thought, okay, this time I actually know how to think, and I can pass on mindset stuff. I mean, all the stuff you guys know, but a lot of the guys that we were working with didn't. And we have a saying that goes like this: doesn't matter who you are today, it only matters who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there. And I'm just telling you, that's just the nature of being a human. So we were like, all right, well, is that bullshit or is that real? And we agreed it was real. So we said, cool, then we wouldn't have any problem hiring an ex-convict, would we? No, we would not. Awesome. So we put the word out on the street that we would hire anybody, you know, obviously if they were right for the job and they had the right attitude and all that, but that we wouldn't disqualify people if they had a criminal record. Because we were in Compton, we had people lined up around the block. It's fucking crazy just to get an interview. And we ended up hiring a gaggle of people that had criminal records and all of that. And we said, all right, everybody, you're now enrolled in Quest University. Making protein bars is just your tuition, but I will teach you anything you want to know. I'll teach you how to build a competitive nutrition company if that's what you want to know, because I want you guys to be here because you believe that we're the surest path to your success. I have an obsession with aligning my selfish desires with people. Because one thing I know is you can trust people to be selfish. And I don't think selfish is bad. Like, that's just, hey, going back to the physics of being human. People are going to do what makes sense for them and theirs. I respect that. And if you can line yourself up such that the more selfish they are, the better it is for you. And the more selfish you are, the better it is for them. Now you're in a really winning scenario. And I knew if I could impart the mindset that I had built that took me from that kid that felt scared, lost, hopeless, you know, and was capable now of building a big company, then who knew what they could do with their lives? And so many of them were smarter than I was, they had more entrepreneurial instincts, but they just had a frame of reference that was so foobar that they weren't going anywhere in their lives. And so we started teaching all this stuff. It's fucking incredible. And I still get phone calls to this day, years later, from kids that grew up in the hood. I'm talking people. My sister was shot to death in the heart with an AK-47 in my front yard. I held my stepfather while he bled to death from a gunshot wound to the head. I hid under a car while my best friend bled from a point-blank range shotgun blast to the stomach. These are all fucking real stories. And these kids calling now to say, hey, I'm making over $100,000 and it's all thanks to you. Just amazing, amazing, amazing. But our big frustration was only about 2% of the people that we said, think like this, act like this, and it will change your life forever, actually started thinking like that and acting like that. We had one kid actually got into a fist fight because he started reading, and his friends from the neighborhood said that he changed. Imagine getting in a fist fight because you're reading. That's so crazy. And so I thought, all right, I know there are a lot of people who are totally happy and fulfilled by saying, as long as I help one person, I will be happy. And I respect that. I love that. I think it's beautiful that people feel that way. I myself do not. For me, it is about scale, and scale is my obsession. So as I'm sitting there going, all right, we changed the lives of 2% of these people, and it changed the lives of their entire family. And that is nice, and that keeps me warm on some of those emotionally cold winter nights. But I want to know how the fuck you impact the 98%. And so Lisa and I play a game. It's called No Bullshit, What Would It Take? No bullshit, what would it take for us to affect the 98%? And so we broke it down. How are people's mindsets shaped? They're shaped by their parents, they're shaped by their friends, and they are shaped by the pop cultural beliefs. And so we said, all right, well, we can't change people's parents. We can't change their friends, but we can change culture. And so if we were musical, we would have gone to music because I think it'd probably be easier. But we are not musical, nor are we cool. So we lean on storytelling. We are storytelling animals. We are meaning making machines. And we knew that given our experience as trained storytellers, that now if we could marry that with our business acumen, that we could follow one guiding light, that nobody, not on our watch, is going to make it to the age of 15 without encountering a growth mindset, because we will embed that shit so deeply in the most popular stories that this world will ever see that they may still reject a growth mindset, but at a minimum, they will have encountered it. And so that's why we're building the next Disney.
Absolutely love that. The bold vision and the encompassing vision to bring everybody in is super inspiring. Now, on a business level, I know you are a copywriter at heart. But that might be actually a fun fact a lot of people don't know is Tom did start off in business as a copywriter. Is that right, Tom?
That is very true.
So storytelling is key. How do you build the next Disney and avoid building the next Quibi?
Wow. You are asking the question that I make sure I am thinking about every single day. So here is what I am always telling the team. All I can tell you about the strategy that we're using right now is that it's wrong. And we will have to adjust so many times that we probably won't recognize our strategy 5 years from now. And so our job is to stay alive long enough to figure it out. So we have an edict in a company that is not risk averse at all, but our is avoid a mortality event. So everything that we do is about making sure that we're in business long enough. Quibi could have figured that shit out, but they went so hard with their money that it was like it either had to hit or they had to shut it down. There was going to be nothing in between. And I think they were smart. They spent $1 billion, had zero to show for it, and so they gave the other $1 billion back. It was just like smart. That's not our strategy. Our strategy is, I know this is going to take the rest of my life to pull off. I'm committed, and I'm going to make sure that we move in such a way that we're able to stay alive long enough to figure out what we actually have to do.
Love that. Tom, on that note, we have still 2,000 people in this room. We're, as far as I can see, the biggest room on Clubhouse right now, which is super exciting, but also not surprising. I mean, what you've done in business, what you're doing next is something that has pulled so many lessons up to the forefront that no one else is talking about. I know the people here are excited to get these type of insights that they can't find anywhere else. So if you're feeling what Tom and Lisa are saying, please, let's all give Tom a follow and hit that plus sign. Ping someone into this room. And you can search in that too. The search bar comes up. You can type in mindset. You can type in media. You can type in inspiration. And the people will pop up who have raised their hand and said they're into that. If you see a green dot next to their name, let's all ping them into this room. Because like I said earlier, if you're not letting them know that you're in the room with Tom Bilyeu and his beautiful and forceful wife, Lisa, who are making impact in so many different ways, they're going to be angry that you didn't let them know. And for those just joining us, welcome to the room with Tom Bilyeu and Lisa Bilyeu, the co-founders of Quest Nutrition, bootstrapped to $1 billion exit. They are now on their way to building the next Disney through media that is going to empower people to pull themselves out of the matrix and have more fulfilling lives. We're so excited to welcome you on Clubhouse. Tom, I see you just passed 8,000 followers, and that's just the start, I know. So this is awesome to see that everyone has given you a warm welcome here. I am pumped to take some questions for the crowd. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open hand raising, and I'm going to take 3 people up to ask questions of Tom. Now, when you come up, please keep your questions short and concise. That's what allows us to get the most amount of knowledge from Tom out into the room and to benefit the 2,100, 2,200 people that are with us here tonight. So start your question off with, my question is, and try to keep it to one breath so we can get as many questions out of Tom as possible. While I'm opening the hand raising, Tom, I want to introduce you and Lisa to someone who is such an inspiration to me. Her name is Amy Purdy. Amy, at the age of 19, lost both of her legs below the knees. She went on to become a 3-time Paralympic medalist, New York Times bestselling author, one of Oprah's 100 thought leaders, and one of the people I am so inspired from every day, because she just shares her journey so openly and vulnerably on social media. I don't know if you have crossed paths with Amy in the past, but just in case, Tom and Lisa, please meet Amy Purdy.
Amy, it is an honor. I'm blown away by your story.
Lovely to meet you, Amy.
Thank you guys so much. And thanks so much, Craig. First of all, I'm so excited to meet you, Tom and Lisa. We have not crossed paths yet, but I'm kind of surprised because we do have a lot of mutual friends in here. And Craig, good to see you too. You know, we had a really fun, interesting dinner years ago at your house. And so it's so cool to just, you know, see so many people from different walks of life on here. And Tom, I have a question for you. So besides Jim Kwik's books, I'm fascinated with the brain as well. So what are your favorite books about the brain?
V.S. Ramachandran is my go-to. So he wrote a book called Phantoms in the Brain, and it's looking at when the brain breaks, you really get insights into how it functions. And there's a whimsy to Rama, as he has asked me to call him, if I may be so cheeky. The way his take on things is so fucking funny. The guy is absolutely amazing, one of the greatest minds. He was invited to speak, I forget now, it's like the Royal Academy of something at Oxford University, and his lecture is, it's just incredible. So that guy is phenomenal. David Eagleman is extraordinary. We're trying to put together a unscripted show with him now, which we're really excited about. That dude is brilliant, and he wrote a book called Incognito, which is absolutely phenomenal. He's written several books on the brain, but that was the one that was a real game changer for me. And then a guy named Moran Cerf. I don't know if he's written a book yet, but he gives talks, and had him on Impact Theory. Absolutely phenomenal thinker and researcher when it comes to the brain.
Great question, Amy. Thanks for kicking off the Q&A round with that. And Tom, excellent suggestions. Moran is a friend of mine, and his research that he's done is definitely next level.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised that you know him? That should not surprise me. In fact, Jim Kwik's at his house right now. Right, Jim? It is scandalous the number of people that Jim Kwik knows. Like that guy.
Jim is a super
of nature.
Yes. So all right. So we're gonna then open some questions to the three folks that I just brought on stage who have been waiting so patiently. And if you're one of the 2,000 people in the room, please click on Tom, click on Lisa, give them a follow. And all the people on the panel tonight are all doing big things in different spaces. We got the godfather of growth, Brendan Burchard. We got the man that's moving people through video, Trent Sheldon. We got the Sultan of Shift, Anthony Trucks. We got Preston and Alexi,
nice.
The power couple. Chris and Jen, the super connector media force. The queens of comedy on Clubhouse, Leah and Nicole. I just see Natalie Ellis, a boss babe, just joined us in the house. What up, Natalie? And Glow Graphics, Glow Autonomo. Oh my gosh. Brendan Farbstein is in the house. Mel is in the house. The one and only Jamie Kern Lima. Oh man, I even see Max Lugavere. There's so many fun people in the house tonight. This is how we do it on Clubhouse just about every night. I'm so excited to welcome you, Tom. And
Yo,
Lisa.
we're pulling up Jenna Kutcher too. We just found her in there.
I've been trying to pull her
another
up.
beach gang in the house supporting and
Jenna!
loving on Tom.
Hey,
and
friends.
I see Randy Garn is back too. What's up, Coach? Man, this room is on fire. Follow everyone on the panel. You will not be disappointed. Everyone here is bringing power to Clubhouse in the form of knowledge-dropping rooms, interviews, and insights that you will not find anywhere else. On that note, Nick, I am going to kick it over to you to ask the first question to Tom. Remember, let's keep it short and concise. So, Nick, in one breath, what is your question for Mr. Bilyeu tonight?
One breath. Thanks for getting me up. But what was the one thing that catapulted you to your success? Maybe it was a mindset, maybe it was a person, maybe it was a loan. What was that one thing that you could look back it was really that defining moment that said, I'm going to do this?
So the good news is that there is only one thing in my entire life that's been like a lightning rod moment. Everything else has been like this slow sort of stumble forward of making mistakes and, just picking myself back up off the floor and trying to figure it out. But the one lightning rod moment that I had that I can point to and say that's probably the most important turning point in my life, certainly as it relates to success, was the day that I realized that what you build your self-esteem around matters. So it was early in my business career. I'd been hired as a copywriter, as Craig pointed out, that's how I started. And I was working with the guys who would later become my partners in Quest. But at the time, they had just hired me, and this was at a technology company. And I was arguing for this idea that I knew was wrong. I knew the idea was wrong, but I still had a fixed mindset. I needed to feel smart. That was what I built my self-esteem around, was being smart. And suddenly I find myself in a room with these guys that are so much farther ahead than me. They'd been in business for 14 years, I think, by the time I met them. And I just constantly felt stupid. And so I needed to win. I needed my idea to be the idea that got selected. And so I just kept arguing, even though there was a voice inside my head screaming, telling me, this idea is stupid. Now, the reason that ended up being a big deal was finally they acquiesce and decide we're going to do it my way. And I have a moment of crisis. And I realized, all right, hold on. You told your wife that you're going to get rich. You told your father-in-law that you're going to make his daughter rich. Like, is that bullshit? Or do you really want that? Because if what you really want is just to feel good about yourself, then fair enough, quit, leave here, and just go do something where you are the smartest person in the room. Like, no judgment, right? It was like a moment where I just let my internal defenses down and said, I'm not going to judge myself for what I want. I just can't keep feeling like this because this sucks. And I realized, okay, I need to feel good about myself. And I really do want to pursue my goals, but I'm acting as if my real goal is to just feel good about being smart. So could I flip that? If I need to feel good about myself, could I feel good about myself for something that the more I pursued it, the better my life became? Now, of course, now we would say that I found an anti-fragile identity. But at the time, I unfortunately had not read Nassim Taleb's book. I don't even think he'd written it yet. And I decided to identify myself as the learner. And that instead of priding myself on being smart, I was going to pride myself on identifying the right answer faster than anybody else and then putting energy behind it. And I would celebrate whoever's idea it was. It didn't need to be mine. I wasn't going to take any pride in that. And that changed my fucking life. And I will tell you, you cannot be successful unless you were just ungodly talented, which unfortunately I am not. You cannot be successful until you adopt a learner's mentality and cease to care whether you had the right idea or whether somebody else had it. Because, man, let me tell you, especially building a business, the number of times you're going to be wrong. And so I just became obsessed with, I'll take a good idea from wherever it comes, fight for an idea just because it is mine. And I will try to get good at assessing what actually works. And in flipping that and priding myself on being willing to admit when I was wrong, that was a game changer.
Love that. Thanks for a great question to kick it off, Nick. Much appreciated. Joshua, you're up next. What is your question for Mr. Bilyeu tonight?
Hey, thanks, Craig, Brendan, Tom, and Lisa, and all the other speakers who generously gave their time on stage. My question is, Tom, what was the greatest fear that you have in your life, and how do you come over it?
I only fear two things: brain damage and the death of my wife. The reason I fear brain damage is because if you can't come back from that, like, it is the way in which I interact with the world, and damage to the brain can fundamentally change your personality. And so for a whole host of reasons that I assume are relatively self-evident, I fear the shit out of that. And then losing my wife, because there's a great quote: there's no way to make an old friend. The thing that I value in a marriage, the reason my never has to worry about me cheating on her, no matter what happens to her looks as we get older, because the thing that I value in this marriage is a shared life. And Lisa and I have now been together for over 20 years. The only way for me to have a second wife that I've been with for 20 years is to clock another 20 years. And had I stayed with Lisa, it would have been a 40-year relationship. So that scares the shit out of me. And I don't even like to think about that.
Great question, Joshua.
Oh, I guess, how do I get over it? I don't think about it. That I do things to protect my brain cognitively. I get sleep, I eat right, I exercise. And then I beg of my wife to be safe whenever she leaves the house. And she already eats well and exercises well. So I figure from that perspective, I'll have her as long as I can.
Love that, Tom. And thank you for such a great question, Joshua, to start off that Q&A round. I want to ask now of our little crew that Brendan put together. Yes, I'm talking about the Puerto Rico Beach Gang, a group of friends Brendan brought to the island of Puerto Rico to hang out and mastermind a couple of years in a row. There's some of us on stage right now, all here to support and welcome Tom. Does anyone from the Puerto Rico Beach Gang have a question for Tom on Clubhouse?
I got
tonight?
A question. It's a question that I think that we've all heard. I've heard, but there's a lot of value in it in terms of the way that Tom talks about it, Lisa talks about it. I'm sure you guys, if you guys follow them, you've heard it before. But I'd love for you guys to share your perspective on not having children. Like, I have kids. I love my family, but I like how you guys have the perspective of your decision not to have kids.
Yeah, I think people in the end will probably be more impacted by a woman's take on this, but I'll quickly give you mine. So the best advice, when Lisa and I first got together, we assumed we were going to have kids, but the deeper I got into business, the more I started really wondering if that was the right move for me, because I was so into what we were building. And so I'd ask every entrepreneur I could find that had kids, should I have kids? Should I not have kids? And finally, one of them said to me, Tom, have kids, don't have kids. It doesn't matter. But whatever you do it all the way. And the second he said that, I was like, that's going to be the best advice that I ever get on this, because there is no empirically right answer. There is only, what do you want for your life? And which of those choices is going to give you that thing? And my thing is, I feel guilty being away from home, knowing that I have chihuahuas waiting for me at the house. And so I knew it would really fuck with me. If I had kids, I'd want to be at home. But I knew if I was at home, that I'd want to be at work, because what I'm building is it isn't a job, it's not a company, it's my life's work. So I am obsessed with what we're building. So for me, it became a very clean, easy decision, but I didn't feel judgment from the world. And if they were judging me, I didn't give a fuck. Now, Lisa, on the other hand, I think had a harder row to hoe, especially because she had a lot of, people in her family.
Yeah, a big thing for me was I really, really wanted kids. And so when we got married, I kind of turned to Tom. I was like, okay, so we're going to have kids, in a year? And he's like, no, I want to really enjoy being married first. And I really want to enjoy being married. I want to, get to know you. So we could set a plan. Okay, it'll be maybe 3 years. And so when Tom was actually pursuing entrepreneurship, at the time, it was like he was just going to do it for 12 to 18 months. I was like, okay, I can stay at home. I can support you for, 12 to 18 months. And the story goes that 12 to 18 months ended up turning into 8 years. And I had slipped into being a housewife. That wasn't something that I'd wanted. But growing up as a Greek good girl, that was really what I was told growing up that I would end up doing. So I'd kind of slipped into the role, and then Tom came home and said he wanted to start a new business with his business partners, and it's a protein bar, and would I mind just helping out? And being a good Greek wife, I was, of course I'm going to help out. This was 8 years, and I've just helped out for 8 years. So what's another 12 months? So I was mailing bars from my living room floor. We were hand cutting bars with knives and rolling pins. And I just thought I was helping out. But we grew at 57,000%. And growing that fast takes you from shipping bars from your living room floor to very quickly shipping from a garage to having an office in Compton to, next thing I know, within 2 years, we have 10,000 square feet of just shipping space. And I'm overseeing 40 employees, shipping, importing, exporting. And I grew so much in that time. I started from fear because I wanted to show my husband that I could do it and I wanted to be there for him. Also, our house was up. If Quest failed, we lost our house. So as a good Greek girl, I was like, okay, work hard so that you don't lose your house. So every time I faced something, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't feel like I had the luxury of stopping. So when I had the fear, I just kept going. When I fell, I got back up and I ended up loving it. And I started to find myself. I started to find out who I was, what I really wanted in life. And in that reality, it made me start thinking, did I want children? And what did that actually look like? No judgment. What would that actually look like? Did I want to be a woman who went to work every day and came home to her kids and had a nanny? That was a very, strong possibility. Did I want to give up my career and be a stay-at-home wife and a mother? That was a very, possible. But none of those felt right for me. And I had to start to own that I actually loved being a career woman, that I loved making a difference. The bars were changing people's lives. And I loved that so much. I ended up turning to Tom and I just had to be honest with him. And I said, look, I know I promised you basically when we got married that I wanted children. And I feel guilty that I'm changing that. But the truth is, I don't want children anymore. And I don't think I do, because that was, I still felt guilty about it. And so we just spoke through it and, we played out the scenario of what would a Wednesday look like. And a Wednesday was, if I wanted to go to work, I would feel exhausted. When am I going to see my husband? Obviously, I'm going to want him to be a great father. So when he has time, he's going to spend time with the kids. And so I was like, well, would my relationship with Tom look like? And I started to think, well, I love my life. I love my relationship with Tom and I love what I do. And so over time, I had to own that. I had to accept it. And then it was hard for me to say that out loud because I definitely got judgment from it. Like, oh, you're not a caring woman, you're not nurturing. And that wasn't true. And so I just eventually had to give up the care of, really caring of what other people thought. And Tom and I said, okay, we're living our lives. We're not living anyone else's. And so that's how we ended up coming to the decision that we didn't want children, but we are dedicating our lives to helping, Tom said, a lot of people on a global scale. And that's more important to us.
Love that. Thanks for going deep with us, Tom and Lisa. And great question,
sure.
Anthony, from the Beach Gang. And speaking of the Beach Gang, I see Jeff Walker in the house. What's up, Jeff?
Not too much. Just joined in. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you. So if you're just joining us tonight, it's a special treat on Clubhouse. We are welcoming Tom Bilyeu and Lisa Bilyeu, founders of Quest Nutrition. They bootstrapped the brand to $1 billion exit, 1,300 employees at its peak, and now have set off to transform the world of media by building the next Disney, not to be confused with the next Quibi. If you're just joining us, hit that plus sign, ping someone into this room, let them know that Tom is here answering questions with his lovely wife, Lisa, and they are going deep. They're holding nothing back. It's their first real night on Clubhouse. And if you haven't followed Tom and Lisa yet, please click on their faces right now. Give them a follow, ring that bell that's next to their page so you know when they start a room. Tom still needs to get 1,500 more followers before we can go to bed. He's at 8.5 right now. Lisa's at 2.9. Let's get Lisa to 3,000 right now. Let's go. Come on. That should be super easy. We got so many amazing friends in the house, and I want to introduce you, Lisa and Tom, to someone who I, again, have never met before, but has become a dear friend of mine just through the magic that we experience here on Clubhouse. She is a Time Next Generation leader, an executive of the year in the area of mental health. She's able to talk deep on things like quantum computing, drones, and robotics, and all the nerdy stuff. She actually started a club here on Clubhouse called Talk Nerdy to Me, but in addition is one of the best moderators I know that also has the nickname of the Velvet Hammer for being able to keep people in line when they're getting out of hand. I'm talking about my dear friend, Amanda Johnstone. Amanda, please meet Lisa and Tom Bilyeu.
Hey guys, I'm literally in Watson's Bay in New South Wales with my feet in the ocean. I don't know if you can hear the waves
Wow.
crashing behind me. I was driving before, so listening in, and then I waited till I pulled over and joined in on the Southern Beach Gang. So we're on the other side of the hemisphere here, but I'm joining you all in spirit. Craig, it's been such a pleasure to host so many great rooms with you and meet you on here, and Brandon as well, and Tom and Lisa, just welcome to this app. I'm really interested in the work you're doing. Would love to hear a little bit more about the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and how you were really looking to build impact into your next venture, and really excited for all the things you're doing and what you're bringing to the table. And yeah, just really excited to support those next few steps. And I know you're in very safe hands here with Craig and Brendan running the room.
Well, thank you, Amanda. Wonderful to meet you. It's crazy. And Craig, this is probably a big part of what you love about this, but it's crazy how you can connect with people from all over the world. You know, I think social media is certainly a double-edged sword, but if you know how to curate your feed, the people that you interact with, it borders on the miraculous. It really is pretty special.
No doubt. And sneak a peek at your Instagram DMs after this and your Twitter DMs, and you will see an explosion in there. And it will be
Yes.
from great people. It's crazy. Like people who are doing really cool things in the world and have their hearts in the right place. It's a really high quality crowd. And speaking of crowd, we still have about 2,000 people in this room, which is so exciting. And so I'm going to give you a minute to answer Amanda's question, but after that, I think we're going to do something special and fun. So go ahead, Tom and Lisa.
So when it comes down to impact, the way that Lisa and I approach it is at the individual level. So I am like, when I sit back and look at the problems that we face, I come down every time to there's two ways to approach it. You can approach it at the policy or you can approach it at the individual level, but there really isn't anything in between. And I'm glad that there are people that come at things from a policy perspective, but that just doesn't fit either of our personalities. It's not what I understand. What I understand is the individual. And I feel like the reason I understand the individual is because I have struggled so hard with my own life, from anxiety, self-doubt, just being, a slow learner and having to always figure things out the hard way. And so in piecing that together, I always felt growing up that the only people that should be able to write instruction manuals are the people that had a hard time assembling things. Because if you had an easy time assembling things, you don't know where people get tripped up. So I'd read instructions and you get like, all right, do A plus B plus C, and then you get Z. And you're like, what the hell? What happened to all the steps in between? And because I have had to struggle, that's the area where I feel my expertise is helping the individual get a frame of reference that will serve them. And so when I think about really making impact at scale, it comes down to mindset. Like I look at the craziest problems that we face as a society, and there's either it's entirely mindset or it's largely mindset. And so when Lisa and I think about impact, that's entirely where we focus.
Love that. So speaking of impact, Tom, I know your big vision is to impact people at scale. However, I'll never forget the story you told me of the one kid that you helped when you were in the Big Brother program. And I thought it'd be fun to try something like that tonight, just off the cuff. And ladies and gentlemen, Tom and Lisa have no idea that I'm doing this. This was not pre-rehearsed. In fact, I don't even know if Tom and Lisa are going to be happy that I'm doing this. I think they will, because I think it's a fun and interesting idea. But I am going to offer up to one person from the audience a 7-minute business or personal coaching session with Tom and Lisa. I'm going to open hand raising. I'm going to pick one person at random, and you got 7 minutes to ask Tom and Lisa about your business or personal life, and they are going to give it to you straight, and they are going to give you hopefully some secrets that can change your trajectory forever. What do you guys think, Tom and Lisa? Does that sound like a crazy idea? Do you like it?
I
Okay.
love it. All right. All right. As you pick that person, I'm going to give some preamble. So you're looking through, yeah?
I'm looking through. I'm looking through.
Okay. So whoever he ends up picking, come hard and make sure if we say something and you think it's bullshit, say you think it's bullshit. because I'm telling you, the things that Lisa and I talk about, we use every fucking day. And the only way you're going to get something out of it is if you're confused, you think it's BS, whatever, that you push on it. And either you're going to let us have a breakthrough and we'll realize we've been spouting off bullshit, or you're going to see that this really does interweave and take you somewhere. But you have to say where you get lost or think something is BS.
Love that. So I want to reset the hand raising because I know some people had their hands up to ask a general question. So before I pick someone, I want to ask you, if you're not up for this one-on-one coaching from the power duo, Tom and Lisa, please put your hand down. And then I'm going to go in right now and pick one person at random who has their hand up. But I wanted to give people the opportunity, who wanted to really take advantage of this once in a lifetime experience and know what they're getting into. Because I know that one thing that Tom and Lisa can give is some tough love. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to literally scroll through and I'm going to keep my eyes closed and I'm just going to tap when it stops. Okay, here we go. Okay. It is Bobby Marie Gonzalez, founder of Perfect Hair Care. And I hope she accepts the invitation to come up because I lost her icon.
I'm here, and I don't even know what to say. Like, I didn't even hear half of that, but I've been in the room with Tom and Trent and Lisa, and I am beyond excited. I'm up for anything.
Awesome.
So, all right, Bobby.
Looking from Bobby's bio, she's a founder of the Perfect Hair Care, $1 million in revenue on Amazon in 2 years. Congratulations, a bootstrap family business. She's a wife and mom of 3. And wow. I'm already impressed with what you're doing, Bobby Marie. So nice to have you here. And if you did miss the beginning, this is a 7-minute coaching session with Tom and Lisa. So you can ask them anything you want about your business, about your personal life. We're going to set the timer for 7 minutes. So take full advantage and let's get going.
Oh my God. Okay. You know what? This is exactly where God wanted me at this moment. Sitting in a Target parking lot, buying stuff for the Susan B. Anthony costume for my child's presentation tomorrow. Welcome to Mom and Motherhood and Entrepreneurship. So Tom and Lisa, for me, I'm really struggling with knowing when it's right to leave my corporate America job to join my husband in the business. What makes it harder is that I am a top producer, right, for a Fortune 500 company. So that comes with a nice chunk of change. It is commission-based, obviously, but still. So I guess that would be my first question because it's what's really just pressing on my heart every day. It's what I think about because I just see a big opportunity cost on the business side. So I guess I would start there.
Beautiful. So whenever you're trying to make a big decision like this, everything comes down to goals. I find that most people lack clarity in their life. They're not sure what they want and they think they do. And when I ask them what they want, they give me an answer like this: I want to win a gold medal. And to them, that's absolute clarity. And so I say, amazing. In what? The Olympics? Yes, the Olympics, Tom, of course. Okay, cool. Summer or Winter Olympics? Summer. Okay, amazing. You want to play tennis or swimming? Swimming? Fantastic. Which event? The free stroke medley? The relay? Like, what are we doing here? And until you get down to knowing exactly what you want, you can't prioritize. Now, once you know what you want, now we can start prioritizing. Now, where people fall down on prioritizing is they put things that say, these are both equally important. No, we can't have that. You have to be able to put your priorities in order. So I'm going to ask, what's your goal?
I want to build a business that I can leave a legacy to my children and have them be a part of it as we build it so that I'm also spending time with the family.
Okay, so there's a lot of vagaries in that. And this is where people get tripped up. Whenever you have a goal should have a date and it should have metrics. So it should sound something like this: I want to build an online hair business that does $10 million in revenue. And I want my son or daughter, whatever, to start in the warehouse and work their way up to a C-level position by 2027, whatever. So whatever those metrics are, the numbers are, now we can steer towards that. Now we can go, okay, where are are we now? How much time are we able to allocate to the business? At what point would we need to jettison the corporate business in order to either oversee the kids or make sure that our revenue is hitting certain numbers or whatever? And then also, what number do I need in the household? So let's say right now you're making $200,000 at your job, but you don't need to make $200,000. You need to make $100,000. Okay, well, when you're making enough money that it's kicking off in the hair business, that it's kicking off enough for you to take home $100,000, you can pay yourself that salary, then there you have it, right? It's just math. Now you've got your numbers. But it comes down to, you have to have the clarity at all of those levels to the point where you can write it down. There is a date associated, there is a metric associated, so you know whether you're hitting it or not hitting it, because you could build something out that says, okay, I want to leave my corporate America job by 2022, October 1st, 2022. Cool. All right. By October 1st, 2022, we know we have to be making $100,000, enough additional profit that I can pay myself $100,000. Now we've got it written down. It's on the calendar. We can break it down. We understand by month where we need to be, whether we're hitting our goals, whether we're not hitting our goals. And so truly, this is a math question. So if when we pin all this down, you still have unease, now we need to drill into, what's the unease about? Is the unease about you have an identity that doesn't allow you to own your own business? Do you have fears that if you're not tied to a Fortune 500 company, because typically people that are working for a Fortune 500 company, it's about safety, security. That's what they prize over other things. So then it's, okay, well, what's your priority? Is it the legacy and having your kids work in your business, or is safety the priority? And hey, by the way, if safety is a priority, that's absolutely fine. Now we're being honest with ourselves, right? So now we just build out the metrics that address that. So if safety is the thing, okay, how many years of $100,000 salary would you have to have in the bank before you could leave your job? And then you just build that out. I'd need to have $500,000 cold hard cash in the bank. Okay, cool. Now let's turn our attention back to the hair business. What would we have to accomplish there, given our salary in the Fortune 500 business and how much we can save there? How much would I need to be making by what date in order to have the $500,000 in savings? And as soon as you can turn this stuff into a math question, you know you have the clarity you need. If you can't turn it into a math question, you've got a problem.
I love it. I do the math in the business, so this is definitely up my alley. Again, I just want to thank you and Lisa. I was actually at Rise Business last year, and I think Dave stepped out of the room now, but in this situation of where it was, him and Rachel at the time, I am Dave. Like, I am the one that, yes, is the corporate America person, but we've already failed multiple businesses as well. You had to declare bankruptcy, and now this has been a godsend. I don't think safety is an issue as much, but I am in Miami, so the prices are a little higher than $100,000 with kids in private school. So, but I do agree, Tom. So I appreciate that. Is there an exercise? Is there a guided exercise that you know of that would help me do this as I kind of dig into this? Because I'm going to make this a priority for this weekend to really make my goal a math question. It was originally 2020. It was originally June of 2021 was my goal, but with the pandemic, the income wasn't there.
Okay, so with stuff like that, we have to be very careful. Obviously, if we miss a goal, we miss a goal, but June of 2021 hasn't passed yet. So giving up on June of 2021 is in and of itself disadvantageous. So the way that we think about goals at Impact Theory is, man, all the time, your goal and the time that you have to achieve it merely dictates the way that you have to think and what options remain on the table. So one of the greatest questions anybody can ask themselves, this is straight from Peter Thiel, is how can you make your 10-year goals happen in 6 months? Now, the reason that's a powerful question is not necessarily because it will actually be possible to pull off your 10-year goal in 6 months. It's that it forces you to think in a radically different way. You don't accept the defeat, right? Don't say, oh, the pandemic came and, oh, fuck. Like, for instance, the pandemic came, it fucking thrashed our view counts on YouTube, which accounted for a metric shit ton of our revenue here at Impact Theory. And so we said, all right, fuck it. We got to focus on something else. What else can we do? And we quintupled our revenue during the pandemic because we just weren't prepared to accept that, this happened to us and it is what it is, right? It happened. It necessitates that we change, that we think in a new way. It's taken certain options off the table, but from limitation comes creativity, right? So don't give up on that June goal. What would you have to do? But I think you actually have a problem before that, which is, what's the amount of money you need in your bank? Because the question you actually asked is, when is the right time to leave? The right time to leave is when you have all your boxes ticked, a certain amount of savings, no longer caring if you have the title at the Fortune 500 company job, total clarity on what it is that legacy means to you, and you just start breaking all of this stuff down. And then you just start saying, okay, well, what needs to be true in order for me to leave my job? My kids need to be this certain age before it even matters. I need to have this much in the bank before it matters. I need to emotionally deal with not having a high level title in this company. And maybe I need to move out of Florida or Miami or, whatever expensive town that we're living in, so that if the business fails and I burn out on the, through the savings, that I'm in a cheaper area. Maybe it's getting your boss to agree to hire you back. Imagine you go to your boss now and say, for the next year, I'm going to work for half my salary, but you're going to guarantee that if I leave for a year and decide I want to come back, that you'll take me back at my current before reduction pay. I'm telling you, if one of my top employees came to me and said that, man, if they were willing to work for half price for a year, I would very much consider that. So, figuring out what are the things that need to be true for you to do that. It's not a spiritual question. It's not an emotional question. It's a math question.
Boom. The fire has been lit. And I hope you enjoyed that, Bobby. That was just over 7 minutes. And I got some gems
Quick.
there. How was that for you, Bobby?
Can I add one little thing?
Absolutely.
So also, I would ask myself, what if my kids, when they grew up, didn't want anything to do with the business I built? Because
Ooh.
and I'm okay with that. We thought about that because actually everyone else in my family is an entrepreneur, and that has happened more times than not. My answer to that is, then you do with the proceeds of the business what lights your heart on fire. But I want to give you that option that we didn't have.
Nice.
Right. It's great that you thought through that, because having regrets is something that I think about a lot, and that's something I thought about when I had to make a decision about having kids or not. So yeah, that's fantastic you thought of that.
Thank you for that. And I appreciate also you guys being so candid about your marriage. That has also definitely been something that we've cycled through with losing businesses and whatnot. It definitely takes a toll on the marriage, and I would say thankful to my husband that we are still together. So thank you for always being so candid about that.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the great surprises of stepping in front of a camera, is that, our life is multifaceted. We are husband and wife first, we are entrepreneurs second, and seeing that there's been an audience for that has really been cool, because so many people, for a whole host of reasons, struggle with being ambitious, being hard charging, and keeping the marriage on fire. So that's been a lot of fun. And as a shameless plug, if you guys haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, Relationship Theory, definitely check that out.
Nice, baby.
You like that?
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, and on that note, also, if you want coaching from Tom has created something called Impact Theory University, where he's dropping a lot of direct advice, insights that he and Lisa found along the way of building the $1 billion brand Quest Nutrition, bootstrapping the brand, leading it to exit, and then creating one of the biggest YouTube interview shows in the world, over 1 million subscribers, hundreds of millions of views, some of the top personalities and people you just can't get to. I'm still blown away you had Michael Ovitz on the show. That was my favorite. But also Matthew or John Travolta. I mean, I could go on, but
Jim Kwik, Trent, Anthony
right.
Trucks, Jamie Kern Lima, Preston. We've got like half the people in here have been on the show.
Oh
got
man,
some amazing people.
Tom and Lisa, go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, yeah, if anybody is interested in Impact Theory University, we don't want money to be the thing that stands between you. So if you can't afford it, we give that shit away. So it is real. I promise you, It will change your life forever and for the better if you do the work. Nothing happens by accident. But yeah, if you are struggling, this class was made for you. We will give it to you for free.
That's so generous of you to even create this. I mean, just speaking candidly, we know you and Lisa don't need the money, and you made this to change the world, and that's so inspiring. Speaking of people who are changing the world, I want to introduce you, Tom and Lisa, to someone, again, who I haven't met in person, but I've just found her so inspiring here on Clubhouse and also on Instagram. And I think you may have shared a digital stage with her because she was recently, I believe, featured in Brendan's online, what's it called, virtual influencer event. I'm talking about my new Clubhouse friend, Glow Autonomo. How you doing, Glow?
What's up, Craig? What's up, everyone? I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the stage.
Have you met Tom and Lisa in person yet?
Not yet, but of course, I saw them, I think, at Influencer a couple years ago. I've been big fans of Impact Theory. So, yeah, I'll always just amazed, impressed, and inspired by everything that they're doing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing. Do you have a question for Tom and Lisa tonight?
Yeah, I guess when you find yourself on the brink of transition or in the messy middle, do you find that stillness or taking a pause is the better thing to do? Or do you just kind of like drive yourself forward and find clarity in that momentum, and just move forward, even though you're not sure of that next step? That kind of makes sense.
It makes total sense. The answer is both. And I really think, so going back to the physics of being human, I think you have to do both. So the point of stillness is for your conscious mind and your subconscious to connect. Your subconscious mind can process a lot more data and a lot faster. So they say the subconscious is faster and vaster. And you have to create that quiet space in order for your subconscious to kick up an idea, because it whispers, it doesn't shout. But the only way to make progress is to act. You will never think your way to success. You will never meditate your way to success. You must take action. And in that action, you will learn something. So most people think of failure in human terms. So you tried something, it didn't work, you failed, it's embarrassing, you are a failure, you're dumb, you're probably never going to succeed at this. Come on, Glow, you know better. Why'd you even try, right? That's what happens to one's mind when you try something. The way we should think about failure is exactly the way that AI thinks of failure, which an AI, if you've ever watched AI learn how to play a video game, it is the most astonishing thing ever. I highly encourage everybody to go watch, just drop into YouTube, AI learns to play video game. And you will see they start out moving literally spastically. They're just jerking around back and forth. They have no idea. It's a game called Breakthrough is the best video that I've seen. And it's kind of like Pong, but instead of playing against a person, you're just trying to get the ball to bounce up and break these tiles. So the paddle's like jerking back and forth, and the AI has no idea what it's supposed to do. It's just told to get a high score. And so it's moving around erratically. One time it accidentally hits the ball breaks the thing. Oh, I got points doing that. So, okay, maybe I should try to hit the ball. So it hits the ball and it breaks another one. Okay, cool. Hitting the ball is the thing. Hits the ball until it finds the most optimum path. And then like 30 minutes later, this thing dominates and sets like world records. It's crazy. It is the most amazing thing to watch it go from the most laughable to this highly efficient scoring machine. Now, the problem with humans is in the herky-jerky phase where they look like an idiot and people are laughing at them, they just give up because it's embarrassing, it hurts, the psychological immune system kicks in, they turtle up, and they just don't keep doing it. AI does not call it failure. AI calls it a sample. You tried something, you got a piece of data, it was a sample, that's it. If as a human, you start thinking, oh, I don't know what the next step is. I literally have no idea. Like I told my team, so I convinced these people to leave very stable jobs at far bigger companies. And I said, look, I will make you one promise. I have no idea how to build the next Disney yet, but I am committed to figuring it out. And I will show up every day. I will make a ridiculous number of mistakes, but I will do it through what I call the physics of progress. So when I call something the physics, I mean, it just can't be boiled down any simpler. And so the physics of progress is the scientific method contextualized for business. You come up with a hypothesis, you try it, it probably has some degree of failure. You adjust, you try it again, and you just repeat that cycle, constantly looking at to see what the data tells you. Now, once you get rid of the embarrassment over the failure, then you realize, oh, that thing you started with, do you just stumble forward? The answer is yes, always yes. You can't predict the future. Like, no matter how many times people hear stories like Netflix. Netflix started out charging late fees just like everybody else. They sold DVDs at first, and it wasn't until years into the company that they hit upon even just the model of mailing it to you, let alone the model of being an online service, let alone then finally making their content. It's like you just have to stumble forward with one absurd belief that you can figure it out. And then there's a great Henry Ford quote that will keep you company through all of this, which is failure is but the opportunity to begin again more intelligently.
Oh, so good. So good. I really appreciate that. And I have one more follow-up question because I think the room will really benefit from this. I think with such successful people on stage, it can kind of be a little bit intimidating for them to relate. So what do you think is you and Lisa's biggest struggle right now? What's something that you guys are trying to work through currently?
Oh man, that's easy for me. Time allocation is my problem. So we have built a strategy that is so dangerous that I am constantly looking at it to make sure that it's the right strategy. So I do not think of myself as the next Brendan Burchard. Brendan is fucking amazing. He already has the title. He is the godfather of
Oh
growth.
my
I
goodness.
have
Here,
no
The Godfather of growth.
honestly, Tom is
I,
killing this tonight. If you guys haven't smashed on Tom's face and Lisa's face and
Bringing the group mind together in these rooms just about every day and night to benefit everybody, because together we are building things that can impact other people so they can get together and do the same. And it just so big of an honor to welcome you, Tom and Lisa, to Clubhouse. On that note, I want to intro you to another friend of mine who I've only met in person once, but we jam up here a few times. I actually met him at Brendan's Influencer Live event last year. He's a 21-year-old world-changing speaker. He spoke at the biggest companies in the world like Amazon and Facebook and Louis Vuitton. He's a 3'9" speaker who is the author of a book called 10 Feet Tall, because when he gets up on that stage, he shakes the room. My man, Brendan Farbstein, was born with a rare form of dwarfism and now empowers people of all ages to shatter their limiting beliefs. And the man is a powerhouse. Brendan, please meet Tom and Lisa.
Hey, thank you so much, Craig, Tom, and Lisa. It is an honor to share the same space as you both. I have been following your journey for a couple of years now, and you both are such powerhouses, and I'm so grateful for everything that you stand for. I'd love for both of you to touch on something that I really find incredible about both of your platforms, which is the level of boldness and authenticity that you lead with truly innovating your own path and course. What was the moment that you felt like you truly found yourself? Because it seems like once you got in that flow and you knew this was the path that you were meant to be on, you just started going at 1,000 miles an hour and you haven't looked back since.
Well, I'd love to actually jump in and say, I think I'm trying to discover who I am every day. And that's what gets me up every day and gets me excited. I love that journey. I love discovering. It pushes me every day. So that's really my drive.
Yeah, and I think of it a little bit differently. So humans are, the science says, about 50% malleable and 50% hardwired. So I try to be aware of the areas where I'm hardwired in a useful way. So for instance, every bit of energy that I've ever put into verbal ability, I've gotten a disproportionate return. So let's say for every hour of effort I put, I get a 1.3 return on that. Drawing, on the other hand, I get 0.6 return for every hour that I put. So it's like I'm losing pieces of my life when I focus on that. I'm not wired for that. And so I become aware of those. And then I ask, what are my goals? And then what or who do I need to become in order to pursue that? And not in a way that is ungrounded from who I am as a person or what my value system is. But if you think about who you are in aggregate, you're made up of the following collection: your beliefs, your values, your identity, your habits, your routines, the people you surround yourself with, what you do on a daily basis. And so many of the, and then obviously the hardwiring. So many of those things are changeable. And as you change those things, it's pretty startling how differently you begin to feel. And as you change how you feel, you'll change how you act. So when I think about who I was in my early 20s, I'm not being inauthentic to that person now, but I'm unrecognizable because I've changed my beliefs. I've changed my values. I've changed the people that I hang out with. I changed the thoughts that I allow myself to think. And in doing all of that, I really feel quite different. And my priorities were different when I was at Quest than they are now. And even those things make me feel like I'm a variation on who I was at Quest now. And again, I'm not faking anything. I recognize how malleable we are. And I've leveraged that to always keep myself fulfilled and emotionally stable. And I find that it is when people fail to recognize how profoundly hardwired we are or how profoundly malleable we are that they run into trouble. People think that they can change. People that think that they can change anything about themselves, I think, are in for a world of hurt. And people who fail to recognize just how much they can change are in for a world of hurt. So when I view myself from an identity standpoint, I view it from identity statements versus like, I don't think of myself as I'm an entrepreneur. I think of myself as I'm the type of person that when something's important enough, I see it through. And at any moment in my life, I'm sort of the amalgamation of whatever those statements that I'm making about myself at that time are.
Wow, I loved both of those answers. Thank you so much.
For sure, man. Thank you for the question. And dude, where you're at in your early 20s, I want to punch you for being so far ahead of where I was. I was a moron at your age.
Love the question.
Thanks,
Question,
Tom.
Brandon. You always bring the heat, and what a fascinating take, Tom and Lisa. Wow, this room is still rocking and rolling. We still got nearly 2,000 people in the house. And another gentleman that was in the welcome room, I was in my very first Clubhouse, who was doing so many cool things on here that I'd love to introduce you to, Tom and Lisa, is Kunal Sood. Kunal is an ambassador to TED, the United Nations. He's doing things at all the film festivals, Singularity University. He's the other creator of We the Future Club here on Clubhouse, which I believe has something like 40,000 members now, which, for an app of this size is amazing. He's just one of those super connected people I felt like you must know. And Tom, I know you were part of Singularity at some point, so maybe you already know each other. But either way, Kunal, please meet Tom and Lisa again for the first time.
What is that, my man?
Hey, Tom. Welcome to We the Future.
Hi.
So lovely to have you here. I'm more excited about meeting Lisa because Lisa,
Hello.
guess what?
Rightfully so.
Because I've met your husband several times. I'm dying to meet you because tomorrow, that's why I've been quiet so far, though I jumped in like a little Labrador before this, is the 6th International Day of Women and Girls in Science at the United Nations that I'm producing.
Wow.
And, just for women, girls out there, I'm such a massive champion because my mother was my biggest champion. So I'm just so delighted to meet you. I would love to have you in one of my summits in the future. And
I'll
Tom,
be honored.
The best thing is that I think the 2 times I've invited Tom because the UN gives me near-death experiences. That's why I've made my life's journey and purpose, making the impossible possible. The first time was like, man, tomorrow's my anniversary, so I don't think I can speak at that summit. And I think the second time was also a bad date, but it's always like under this timeline of a month. But I have a really interesting question for you guys around the university you've started. My dream, okay, in life is to impact 1 billion people. And for the first time in a decade, I'm going back to India. And I feel there's an opportunity there, Tom, for you and Lisa to come home and help those in India learn about impact theory and the concepts of impact theory, because that's not taught to Indians. What do you guys think about that? How about shifting the message to places like India, which has, less of a developed economy? We're never taught to be leaders per se. We're always taught how to be a genius or an engineer. Would that be something that you think would resonate with the East, or do you think it should stay in the West?
Man, I'll take it wherever people are open to it. I think that the human mind is so close to universal. There's no question there is a cultural layer that makes a huge difference. But I think that when you start talking the language of change in an individual, that's very universal. So I'm obsessed with India for a slightly different reason, ultimately the same punchline. But when I look into the future as somebody who creates comics to be consumed on the phone, there are two areas, obviously, just for sheer mass that I'm interested in, and that's China and India. Now, there's a lot more people that have their eyes on China. China already has an industry that's booming there, so it's easier because they already have artists and creators. But when I look at India, and I think that if somebody could tell stories that were native to the mythologies and things, the aesthetic that speaks to somebody who grew up in India, that somebody's just absolutely going to murder it. And it's been such an underserved market from a web comic standpoint. And for anybody that doesn't know how big web comics are, just in the US, they get billions of views every year. It is staggeringly large. And when people think of comics in the US, they think of print comics, which are dead as doornails, and it's so antiquated. It is beyond mainstream. And in Asia, for instance, in South Korea specifically, as many hours are spent reading online comics as are spent on YouTube. It's not even that specific, as watching internet videos. So it's an art form that has staggering reach, but has somehow flown under the radar. So anyway, India has become a target that I'm incredibly interested in. We actually have a reasonable audience for our mindset stuff in India, and have always looked for an excuse to go there.
Well, I would be so honored to take you guys back there. I think, Lisa, we need you there too, because the women in India are truly extraordinary. So it'd be such an honor to take you guys home at some point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Would love that.
Wow, this has been such an honor, Tom and Lisa, to host you in your first real Clubhouse room. We had so many people pass through, and people are still super engaged. There's almost 1,500 people in the room right now. I have a hard end time at 7 o'clock. I wanted to ask you, Tom and Lisa, I sent you a text, but didn't hear back. But would you like to keep going? Because there's still plenty of people who would love to hear more of your knowledge. Or, the app's not going anywhere, and we could do it again sometime, or whatever you guys are feeling in this moment right now. Either way, it's been such a spectacular last couple hours with you.
Dude, thank you so much. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to bounce. I don't know about Lisa, but I'm on deadline right now for a webtoon project. So I have to get back to cutting black and my kid who can cross dimensions and finish that up. Thank you guys all so much for the warm reception. Craig, you have been astonishing, man, from offering to do this to being the world's greatest host. Brendan, as always, you
World's
are magnificent,
greatest
man.
host, Craig.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That really is true.
Totally.
Craig,
The
that
best.
was unbelievable. And everybody that showed up and asked questions, I'm beyond grateful. To all the friends that are in the moderator panel, thank you guys so much. The support really, really, really means the world to me. And for anybody in the room right now, the people on the moderator panel are some of the greatest humans I've ever encountered in my life. You could pick one at random and just start following them. I promise you, they're amazing people. So shout out to everybody. Thank you guys so much. I will definitely see everyone on here again in the future. And Craig, thank you again, man.
Yeah,
Just the
thank you
generosity is crazy.
guys.
Thank you, Craig.
Pleasure's all mine.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Folks,
guys.
make sure you
Welcome to
follow Tom and Lisa.
Clubhouse.
Follow everyone on the
Thank
panel.
you.
You know, the way
Welcome,
Clubhouse
Tom and
works,
Lisa.
it doesn't show you rooms people are in unless you're following them, and you don't want to miss a single room from anyone on this stage. So make sure you follow everybody. It's not like Instagram where it clogs up your feed. It gives you the most powerful rooms where you're going to get these insights. So follow everybody, and we'll see you back on here very soon. Much love, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you, Craig.
So
Thanks,
much,
everyone.
guys. Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
y'all.
Good
Thanks so
night.
much.
Night.